Now, moving to a little bit more upbeat news in the world of DC, chalk this up to some of this is rumor and speculation. Some of it, I think, was inadvertent reveals by the higher power. I would throw that term out there. And that is that James Gunn is continuing to tease future things within the direction of his DCU, while on the flip side, Warner Brothers Discovery head honcho David Zaslav is teasing from a different direction. It almost seems like James Gunn is like teasing specific characters or asking fans what they want to see, and then David Zaslav is kind of coming at it from a different perspective of like, this is what they're doing. So first, the James Gunn stuff. James Gunn switched over to Mastodon, which is some other social media now that Twitter's on fire. I'm still on the dumpster fire. I'm just kind of going, I'm just sitting back and watching because this is kind of entertaining. And also, I'm not tech savvy enough to figure out what Mastodon is, so I'll ride on the Twitter fire for a little bit longer.
Fair enough.
But
I didn't even. This is the first I'm hearing about Mastodon. So
exactly.
I'm just here, dog. I just exist.
So James Gunn's first post on Mastodon was a picture of Lobo, which everyone was like, "Oh, Lobo, that's cool." But then it got coupled with an interview later that same day of, I believe, Brandon Davis of comicbook.com that asked Jason Momoa. He's like, so you see James Gunn shared a picture of Lobo. And this was also in conjunction with a video that Jason Momoa shared. It's like, a dream of mine is coming true. Thank you, James Gunn. Thank you, Peter Safran, my maestro. I'm going, maestro is kind of important. We'll get back to that. And some people are suspecting that potentially Jason Momoa could be playing Lobo. And I'm going, a little bit of a reach, but okay. We wouldn't have talked about it had James Gunn not earlier today shared yet another picture, except this time of Mr. Terrific. And I'm going, wow, okay. You are really digging deep from the Jeff Johns barrel of obscure characters, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Like, they're characters that like comic book fans would know, but I'm just like, they're okay. Not like the highest of priorities, but that's still cool. So he's clearly teasing some characters that he would like to show at some point. Now, Jason Momoa had no reaction to the Mr. Terrific stuff, as I would kind of imagine.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about if I actually believe that there's any form of correlation between Momoa and the Lobo stuff. Just like, I don't know if I buy it or not. That being said, I love Jason Momoa's Aquaman. But.
The big old butt.
Lobo does have a big butt. I think, honestly, Jason Momoa fits Lobo even better than he does for Aquaman. And I love his Aquaman. But oh my gosh, Jason Momoa is a little too spot on for Lobo. Like, scary spot on. Now, the Maestro thing that he talked about in his video, like, before anything else, there's some fans are speculating that he's actually referring to Andy Muschietti, the director of The Flash, because Ezra Miller has referred to Andy Muschietti as Maestro a few times. I'm going, interesting correlation. That could just be like, dude, though, for people of like, I just call you Maestro. I don't know. That could just be a
Which
lingo.
Is still weird.
But throw the Mr. Terrific thing in there, I'm not sure. I don't see Mr. Terrific as a standalone solo movie person, but then again, before 2008, I don't think people would have said the same thing about Iron Man either. So
True.
I think James Gunn is just kind of, he's putting the fishing pole in the water to see if there's anything that's biting. If anybody's just like, yes, Mr. Terrific, I feel seen now. Like, the Mr. Terrific fandom is all going to stand up and rise and salute him. I think he's more just kind of gauging fan interest, and supposedly he's actually reached out and been like, all right, fans, what would you like to see from DC? What stuff would you like to see from us make going forward? And David Zaslav, I'll let Josh talk, and we'll talk about the David Zaslav stuff in a second here, but he said that
Totally.
James Gunn and Peter Safran are almost to the end of figuring out what the end of this roadmap is and having everything charted out. Looking at just the James Gunn stuff with the Mr. Terrific, with the Lobo stuff, Josh, what are you making of all this?
I think a lot of it is going to it's kind of going to depend on the, as always, almost everything in the DCU EU is right now. It's going to depend on the outcome of Flash. If Flash literally resets everything, there's absolutely an opportunity for Jason Momoa to come in as Lobo. Lobo's a character from Apex anyway. Which is like you said, something I'm super down for. I really like his Aquaman, and I don't know who we would get to replace him if he wasn't Aquaman. That being said, I was talking about this before we started, but I saw a fan cast of Carl Urban as Lobo, and honestly, if we can combine like Carl's Judge Dredd with Carl's Butcher from the Boys, like that's a perfect amalgamation of Lobo, and it could be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of options there. I would not be surprised if Lobo shows up in season 2 of Peacemaker. That absolutely feels like something that could totally happen. Maybe not so much as other characters like a Green Arrow or
I'm still not off the Green Arrow thing.
Yeah, same. But I can totally see James using Peacemaker or having Lobo appear in a Peacemaker style setting, maybe doing a show of Lobo on HBO Max, because Lobo's one of those characters that you either go balls to the wall or you don't do him. You can't really like kind of do Lobo. It like they kind of tried to do Deadpool before the Deadpool movies. You kind of have to go all the way in.
See, I don't know if they'd introduce Lobo in Peacemaker because, and maybe it's just me, Peacemaker, I know it's alien butterflies and whatnot, but by and large, it's still very grounded in Earth stuff, whereas Lobo is very galactic and cosmic. We'll eventually get there, I'm sure, but I could see Lobo showing up in a Green Lantern series first.
Yes, agreed.
One that just recently got reworked and is becoming something else. But James Gunn is teasing of just like, hey, would you like to see this? Would you like to see this? And supposedly him and Peter Safran are almost done at the end of their roadmap. Well, David Zaslav, the ultimate hype man that he is,
kinda
hyped up what they're doing, or clarified without actually saying what it was that he's clarifying, but in the same sense, maybe gave away more than he was expecting, because he's just like, we're gonna go for a more unified version of our universe. We're not gonna go around having 4 Batmans, to which my mind immediately went, oh, you're gonna need to clarify that, because I don't think that's a bad choice. I know some people are really excited of just the prospect of having Pattinson, Keaton, Affleck. I feel like there's one that I'm missing. But like having all these different Batmans at once, I'm just like, I've never been a huge fan of that. And I know some people are just like, well, he says we're going to cut down on how many Batmans we're having. Does that mean they're going to force Robert Pattinson into this DC universe? I'm going, no, he says we're not going to have 4 Batmans. I interpreted that as we're going to have 2 Batmans. We're going to have Pattinson, and we're going to have whoever our DC universe Batman is moving forward. I don't want to burst people's bubble, but I don't think it's Ben Affleck. And
no, definitely not.
I would totally be fine if he does come back. The reason I don't think it is because Ben Affleck had such a miserable experience in the past with fan reaction of, I would love to do other stuff. His experience on Live by Night, I think, is the reason why he's not coming back as Batman, because he made his own movie, non-comic book related, in the interim, and every question he got on every press tour was about Batman. He's like, dude, I made this other thing. Please talk about this other thing. And I totally get that. So I don't know if Ben Affleck would ever come back. I know he's got a deep love for the character, but also, you and I have talked about it many times, as great as Ben Affleck's Batman is, having an old Batman from the start kind of limits the storytelling possibilities that you can have. So what I think David Zaslav is talking about here is, we are not going the multiverse route. I think when Walter Hamada was in charge, who is now over at Paramount, apparently, he got picked up real quick. When Walter Hamada was in charge and wanted nothing to do with the Zack Snyder stuff out of pure spite, which I get that you're not a Zack Snyder fan, but sometimes you have to work with people you don't like. And I think he went way too far to the left, trying to overcorrect quote unquote overcorrect Snyder stuff, that he was going to end up shooting himself in the foot with this like multiverse stuff. Flash is supposed to open the door to the multiverse of that's canon, that's canon. And I think what Zaslav is saying is not that we're not going to have that, but we're focused on one singular told cohesive universe as opposed to blow up in this big multiverse. And I saw people complain about that. They're like, well, Marvel's doing a multiverse. I'm like, Marvel has a 10-year cohesive jumpstart on the DC universe. You can get a multiverse when you get your one universe in line first.
Also, that's assuming that the multiverse thing is going well, and it is, in my opinion,
Not.
and I haven't seen Wakanda yet, is not going well.
No, there's no multiverse stuff in Wakanda.
It's one of those, like, every issue that I think you and I had was like, hey, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a stumbling block. This is going to be a stumbling block. Everything that we said about, I guess this is a side note for Marvel Multiverse, the problems with bringing in multiverse storyline to the general public, it's going to be hard to follow, and you're going to have a lot of setup that's not going to make sense until you pull the rug out and be like, look, see, this was our plan all along, which is not necessarily going to be a thing. Not necessarily going to be a good enough payoff, I think is what I want to say. A good enough payoff for Marvel fans. That being said, Zaslav saying that, we're not going to have 4 Batmans, which makes sense. Please, let's not do that. Absolutely not. I don't want Pattinson to lose his trilogy, because
I don't think that's getting touched. I don't think that's getting touched at all.
I agree. Because I think it's so good. I think they realize how good of a job Matt Reeves is doing with that character, that at the very least giving him a trilogy and then just moving on is perfect. I think that's totally fine. I think fans will not be confused by that. That being said, I think the only reason I feel that not going with Pattinson going into like a Justice League scenario, I only feel like that because of the Batman movie that we have right now. It's such a base level year one Batman, and there was no point in like any if you've gone and watched the animated movie year one, Batman Year One, at no point did I look at that Batman and go, you know what? I can't wait for you to. You should interact with Superman and Flash like right now. That makes total sense for your character. When like the first, like, I would say 5-10 years of Batman, he's only focused on Gotham. That is the only thing I want to do, is just make Gotham better. So yeah, for him, for the Pattinson right now, absolutely does not make sense for him to be a part of a larger world. But still, I don't see. I'm not 100% sure if that's the direction they want to go with him. With that being said, I don't know who else you bring in then, because you gotta you go like with somebody who's late 30s, early 40s, not quite Batfleck, but like not so young with Pattinson. So Nathan looks like he's got some ideas. I do not.
So you brought it up, Josh. You guys missed the boat. As much as I like Ben Affleck, you clearly missed the casting of this obvious candidate right in front of your face the last time, so you can right the wrong and cast him this time. Josh said he'd be a great Lobo, but I think he'd be an even better Batman. Carl Urban has been my top choice for Batman for about 10 years now, because just look at Dredd, a character that only speaks with the lower half of his face and keeps his mask on the entire time and is grumpy and has a up-and-coming assistant. That sounds very suspiciously like Batman to me. And Carl Urban, I think, is a very talented actor. The only problem is he is closer to Affleck's age, but I've thought Carl Urban would be a great Batman for a while. I think the other reason this is important is just Zaslav coming out and reassuring people, okay, just like the comics, we are milking Batman, but leaving other characters high and dry. He made a point of Vince like, hey, Batman's getting used all the time, but Superman has gotten barely any shine. We're going to fix that. And I have full confidence that, yes, James Gunn likes his obscure characters, but I'm sure we're going to get the big heavy hitters soon. It just, if anything, Makes me very curious about circling the calendar for next year's Comic-Con because I'm sure DC is going to announce quite a few things, but also Marvel still has to announce Phase 6 at some point. If that happens on the same day,
there's going to be a Phase 6? No way.
whether you like it or not.